Shabbat Shalom to everybody who is here, some folks who have been here pretty regularly, some folks who I have not seen here before, so that's really great. I mean members, but who have not actually come in for in-person services yet, so that's really great. And of course, a huge Shabbat Shalom to those of you joining us virtually. It's always wonderful to go back, for me at least after Shabbat, and to read all the comments and all the Shabbat Shaloms and people saying hi to each other, and it almost makes up for the fact that we can't be here in person. It does not come close, but it's kind of nice anyway. So I hope you're having a wonderful Shabbat full of lots of rest and relaxation and peace. We start with a nigun with the cantor.
Die, 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 die.
Whether you are at home or whether you are here, please rise as we do the blessing over the Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat. Amen.
You may be seated as we turn to page 5, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Ki Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Koachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Ki Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeitchem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God. Lechun Neranana, page 11.
Lechun Neranana, Lechun Neranana, Lechun Neranana, Adonai. Lechun Neranana, Lechun Neranana, Lechun Neranana, Adonai. Naria, Naria, Letzur Shenu. מפנה בתודה. נריע נריע לציון אישנו, מזמירת נריע לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני.
The heavens shall be glad and the earth rejoice, the sea in its fullness roar, the meadows and all that grows in them exult. Yismechu Hashamayim, page 14.
ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. Yeramaya, 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 Umlo, Yeramaya, 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 Umlo, Yismechu Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Betagel Haaretz.
Come, my beloved, to welcome the bride. Let us greet Shabbat as she arrives. Lechado D, page 23.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה, ולתהילה. לך אדוני לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך אדוני לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה. תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת. We rise, face the door. אורי בשלום מתנת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת
You may be seated. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, a song for the Sabbath day. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it's good to give thanks to God. Page 27.
Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezamer, ulezamer, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov, tov, tov lehodot, tov lehodot l'Adonai. Ulezamer, ulezamer, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. להגיד בבוקר בחסדך באמונתך בלילות עלי עשור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון בחינות טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב להודות
And now in our service, we offer words of comfort from our tradition to those who are mourning. Makom yenachem etchem b'toch shar avalei tzun v'Yerushalayim. May God's presence bring you comfort amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. For those who are in mourning and those observing a yard site, we'll recite the Mourner's Kaddish on page 30. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'alam le'almei almaya. Yitparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom b'imramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. And now we invite all of those to rise. Everyone would rise for Barhu, the call to worship. Page 39.
Barchu et Adonai Amvorach Baruch Adonai Amvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated. We continue with Ahavat Olam, page 40.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amecha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limatta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shorveinu v'kumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amecha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limatta V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Yehei mechayenu ve'orech yameinu u'bahem negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha Al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch ata Adonai Ohei Amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue silently in Hebrew or English to the bottom of page 42.
Adonai Elohechem Amen.
Our ancestors sang this song after they crossed the Red Sea and were free at last from Egyptian slavery. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, page 44.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar v'kodesh nora nora, nora tehilot osei feleh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar v'kodesh nora nora, nora tehilot osei feleh. Malchutcha ra'u banecha, okei hayam lifnei Moshe. Zeili, zeili, anu ve'ameru. Malchutcha ra'u banecha, okei hayam lifnei Moshe. Zeili, zeili, anu ve'ameru. Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, chamocha ne'edar v'kodesh nora nora, nora tehilot osei feleh. Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, chamocha ne'edar v'kodesh nora nora, nora tehilot osei feleh. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar v'kodesh nora nora, nora tehilot osei feleh, osei feleh, osei feleh.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Help us to lie down in peace tonight and waken us to life renewed tomorrow, page 45.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. ועד עולם השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו
Shabbat just isn't a day of the week, it is also a sign of the covenant between us and God. Vishamru talks about that, so that's what we're going to do. Vishamru, page 46.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Please rise, page 44, page 46, for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, אמן. ויעלמד יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכם וביומכם ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל. שמי לקודשה לכולי
standing as we turn to page 47 for the Friday night Amidah. This is a completely silent Amidah, so it's time for you and God and all the words on the page in your heart or both. That's page 47 through 52.
We turn to page 51 and join together in Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon chol hashalom. Ki ata Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. V'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo It's that time in the service where we invite everyone who is a family or close to each other to put their arms around each other as we sway to Oseh Shalom. And those of you watching around the world, you can do it too. Put your arms around each other. Here we go. Oseh Shalom, Oseh Shalom bimromav. Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru, Amen. יעשה שלום עלינו, שלום עלינו, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו
standing as we turn to the inside back cover of our Siddur to do a Misha Barak for the Cholim, a prayer for those in need of healing. So if you know anyone who's in need of healing, whether that's healing in their body or healing in their mind and their soul and their spirit, and I think we all know at least one person in the world who needs a little healing right now, I want you to hold that person in your heart as we sing the Misha Barak inside back cover.
Misha Barak may the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing for us and all those we love. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
You may be seated. Page 54, Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ואמר יברח חידותי, וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון לבכן וחייכו בית ישראל, והגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו, לעילה מכל אחד ושירתה, תושבע אדם לחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. תתקבל אצלותון ואותון לכל ישראל, קודם אבוני בשמיה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו על כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen.
Shabbat Shalom. So many more faces looking back at me saying Shabbat Shalom. This is so exciting. And of course, all of you online. It's great. Unsurprisingly, I think to many of you, I used to, in a previous life, be a Jewish youth group advisor. What? Sarah working with teenagers and kids? Crazy. And a lot of the times I would talk to my kids. They were preteens, a lot of them middle schoolers. And we'd have a lot of discussions. One that often came up was becoming a grown-up, because they were the age where they were transitioning into becoming adults. And that's tough, if you remember. We talked about what it meant to be a grown-up and the difference between being a kid and being an adult. And one of the ways I would explain it to them, I would say that being an adult means doing things that you do not want to do, or not doing things that you really want to do. I would use the chocolate cake example, that as an adult, I can eat chocolate cake for breakfast. I have that ability. But I know that that is not a good choice, so I usually do not eat chocolate cake for breakfast, even though I really want to. And you have to remember, if it's been a little while, you might not, but when you're a kid, you think, oh, when I'm a grown-up, when I'm an adult, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and no one can tell me otherwise. I can eat candy for dinner and stay up all night playing video games. So, my kids were really disappointed when I told them that when you actually are an adult, you can eat candy for breakfast and you can eat cake for lunch and you can stay up all night. Yes, you could. But generally you choose not to because it's not a good choice. And I remember one of my kids, a boy, who ironically for what we're reading in the Torah this week, his name was Noah. And he said, Sarah, it doesn't sound like being an adult is very much fun. And I was like, well, yeah, Noah, it's not as much fun as you think it's gonna be, probably, but being an adult means making choices that don't always make you happy. But you make those choices because they're the right ones. The story of Noah, not my youth group kid Noah, but Noah from the Torah, that we're reading this week is familiar to, I would say, almost all of us. 99% of us have some familiarity with the story of Noah, God, the world's terrible, and build a boat, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go into the details of it, you know it, and it's frankly not what I really want to talk about, actually, right now. Because there's this part leading up to the whole saga, where God is looking down, I imagine, metaphorically, at the world and sees that people are just awful. People are evil. And they're not just run-of-the-mill evil. People are purposefully evil. They want to do and be evil all the time. The Torah literally goes out of its way to say all the time. And there's this one line during that lead up that always strikes me every time I read it. God's looking at the world and seeing people, and God's looking, by the way, at these people that God made to be in the divine image. And they're being evil all the time. And the Torah gives us this line which gives us insight into God's psyche, what God is thinking in that moment, what God feels in that moment. And that's fascinating because it happens so rarely in the Torah. The Torah says, V'yinechem Adonai kol asa et ha'adam. God regretted that they had made human beings. God regretted something? It's just such an odd way to think about God. But it doesn't stop there, because the line continues. V'yatsev el libo, God's heart was saddened, was grieved. God was sad, which is not a quality we generally attribute to, the divine, sadness. But God is sad and regrets making people. Now, I'll be very honest. I am very familiar with this line. It always gives me pause every year when I read the story in Parshat Noach. I always stop and I look at that line. But for some reason, this year, I looked up to see what did other much, much, much older rabbis than myself, what did they say about this line? I don't know what possessed me to look this year, but I did. Rashi, a medieval French-German fellow, brilliant fellow, rabbi, of course. He says that God's heart is saddened because God knows, when seeing just how bad people are, that there will have to be a flood and will have to save Noah and his family. And for the first time in my many, many, many years of reading this Noah story, I thought to myself, that whole flood everything solution doesn't really make any sense. I don't get it, because if everyone on earth was so terrible and truly people were evil all the time, God should have just wiped everybody out. I don't mean to sound heartless, but, Saving some people doesn't seem like the logical solution. If the problem of people being awful, if the problem of humanity's experiment is that it's failed, why not wipe the earth clean? No more people. And there are stories, there are midrash that are told that's exactly what God did in previous worlds that God created. Just got rid of them. So why not do that again? God knows. That what has to be done is to continue with human life, with people, with all of our flaws and our foibles. That human life was worth continuing, but still God was sad. That choice to keep people going clearly did not make God happy. Torah would have told us. Wiping the slate clean would mean there would be no more people to disappoint God. God wouldn't have to feel regret and watch human beings choose to be evil. God didn't want to choose to bring more heartache, more sadness to God's self. But the painless route wasn't what the divine chose to do. Which brings me back to Noah, not Torah Noah, kid in my youth group Noah. When I explained to him that, like God, when you're an adult, we know, sometimes you have to make decisions. And those decisions don't bring you happiness, and they don't bring you joy. And sometimes you have to make decisions that make you sad. But you do those things, you make those decisions, you make those choices because it's worth it. Now, we are currently in an in-between period. Right now. Thank God, positive test rates and hospitalization rates are not as high as they were in the summer for COVID. And with the end of those 100+ degree days, we can finally enjoy being outside, and eating outside, going to events outside. We have so many really great events planned for outside here at Beth Yeshurun. I'm so excited as they kind of roll out the pipeline. And that's great because we know that that's safer too. And this lull is great also, and I speak for myself. I can only really speak for myself, but I think I'm speaking for plenty of you too because I've heard this from many people. This lull is great because we're tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of the upending of my life. No hugs and no handshakes and no holidays with grandma and grandpa, and you have to wear a mask to school, and you have to wear a mask to the office, and you have to wear a mask to the store. I'm tired, we're all tired of worrying, of being scared, of getting sick, of getting someone else sick, or worse. And being scared and worried and anxious for so long, it takes a toll. It wears you down. And how could it not? So we're tired. We feel done with the whole thing. But we are in a valley, which means everything points to it. Numbers they're not exploding. Houston, we are really good here. We're good people here. We know what we're doing, and we're doing really well. And our numbers are not exploding the way they are in other places, which is great. But they are inching up. And our medical professionals are warning that it could be very bad again. And even just saying that feels terrible. It does not bring me joy to tell you that, to say that, the reality. I don't want to have to say that. It feels awful to just say that. Because we're tired. And feeling tired and fed up and done is totally appropriate. I'd be shocked if you didn't feel tired of all of this by this point. But, like God, we have to keep making the unpleasant choices that we've been making. Not to stop living our lives. We're not going to stop living our lives. We're not going to stop being ourselves. No, that's not who we are. We just have to keep up all those unpleasant adjustments that we've had to make to our lives in order to help them run. And those things don't make us happy, but we've gotten very skilled at them. Wearing the mask and keeping the distance and adjustments to events that are outdoors or limited numbers, all those things. These are the choices that we make, and we do them well. And we don't have to feel good about making these choices, but if we do them, if we do the hard thing, if we make the unpleasant choice in order to be able to keep doing the things that we can do right now, that we love to be able to do right now, then we can hold this thing at bay. If we all pitch in the way we know we can because we've done it, we've been doing it, and we're good at doing it. And because we are strong, we are stronger than this thing, we are stronger together, and because we care for each other here. And that makes all the difference. When God flooded the world, God was not happy about it. A world with no people? That wouldn't break God's heart. Sounds great, right? Who wants to have their heart broken? But God chose to keep going with the experiment that was humanity, as painful as that decision was to make. We too have to keep making those tough choices that we have been making, the masks and the distance and the limited numbers and the adjustments to events and doing things outside, and not because those choices bring us joy. Do you think I enjoy sitting up here for hours with a mask on? That it's fun? Come on. We don't do these unpleasant things because they feel good, but we do them because we know they're the right choice. Because they're the choices that keep us all safe, and because we are strong enough to do them. Like God, we are making the tough choice to preserve humanity. And I know you're tired of having to do it over and over and over. I'm tired too. But I also know that we can do it. We can do it well. And we can do it for as long as we need to. Because we're strong like that. Shabbat Shalom. Please rise, turn in your Siddur to page 56 for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
You may be seated. We take a moment now to remember those who are no longer with us, So if you are saying the Kaddish, if you're in mourning, or if you are observing a yahrzeit, I invite you to turn to page 58 to rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kari v'imru amen, yehi shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. You may be seated, and may all of our loved ones' memories be for our blessing. We have one anniversary to announce tonight, as Trudy and Max Esses celebrating 30 years. 2020 has been bittersweet, you say, full of simchas and travel, which had to be, this is their term, but I love it, COVID canned, i.e. canceled due to COVID-19. That's great, I've never heard that before. Such as a large family reunion, including 2 of your oldest grandchildren sharing their 30-year anniversaries, your oldest children sharing their 30-year anniversaries, and that all came undone. However, you still get to celebrate the fact that your Brooklyn son Moshe and his wife Rivka each became headmasters of Montessori schools, he in Brooklyn Heights and she in Museum Mile in Manhattan. So mazel tov to them. Maimon, your Israeli grandson in the IDF, made elite warrior and non-commissioned sergeant in his Givati division. So kol hakavod, it's quite an accomplishment. Rachel, your Israeli granddaughter, graduated high school and began her 2-year national service in the Israel National Park Service as an ecologic environmentalist in Eilat, which is a beautiful place to be. And your 11 other grandchildren are still employed and or are attending a virtual school or college in their respective locations, and you hope that you will be able to visit them soon because you miss them so much, and I know we all hope that for you as well. So mazel tov to Trudy and Max on many wonderful decades and hopefully many, many more. We have a few great announcements. First, please vote. This is the last week of early voting here in Harris County. Jewish communities around the world have historically flourished in societies with healthy democracies that champion government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And our values are codified in our laws, and those values actually go beyond Jewish law into the laws in lots of places, such as the United States and our Declaration of Independence. So it is a Jewish thing to vote, so please, please do. Again, early voting is all this week. It ends this week, and of course, there's also, Election Day. So please vote. Also, we're doing Count Me In this year. It's important every year, and I think more important this year than ever. Every year we support Count Me In, which is a Houston-based initiative to help families in need celebrate Hanukkah. And like all of us, Count Me In has had to kind of rethink some things that they do because of all the restrictions of COVID, and we are taking this project virtual this year. And I invite you to watch this video from founders Eric Berdinas and Ben Rice.
Hi, my name is Ben Rice.
And I'm Eric Berdinas.
Growing up in Houston, Hanukkah was always a special time for both of us, full of great memories, time with our families, and tradition. And 15 years ago, we asked the Houston Jewish community to join us in sharing that tradition with families in need, and the support has been overwhelming.
Through our nonprofit Count Me In, we've now donated over 40,000 Hanukkah gifts and holiday items like menorahs and dreidels to children, seniors, and families undergoing medical treatment. This year, due to COVID-19, Count Me In is going virtual and will be accepting monetary donations in lieu of gifts. Recipients will receive gift cards so that they can shop how they'd like.
We owe a lot of gratitude to places like BBYO, the Jewish Family Service, our local synagogues and community partners, and all the volunteers who've helped make Hanukkah special for others through Count Me In.
We would love your help to help keep Count Me In running this year by donating via check or online at countmeinhouston.org. We hope you will join us in saying Count Me In.
We will keep promoting Count Me In on our website and in our social medias. We really hope that you will join us along with so many other Jewish organizations and synagogues in Houston in supporting this really terrific cause. Based on the success of our Passover to-go meal, we will be offering Thanksgiving to-go. You know, so much cooking with Thanksgiving, and you probably have to do it all yourself this year, and like, who wants that headache? I know I don't. I've never made Thanksgiving all on my own. It will be open to both members and non-members, which is a departure from what we've had to do in the past. That's exciting, and registration is open on our website. We look forward to providing you with a traditional Thanksgiving turkey meal complete with all of your favorite sides, and of course, pumpkin pie. What's Thanksgiving without pumpkin pie? Look for the registration on our website and on our social media. Speaking of registering for things, registration for Friday night services for the next 2 weekends. Like this weekend, the next 2 weekends, we do not have B'nai Mitzvah. Therefore, our Barg, Sanctuary, and Chapel Shabbat services on both Friday and Saturday are open for registration. We are limited to 40 people in those spaces. We would love if you would join us if you are able, and you can wear a mask the whole time, and you would feel comfortable doing so. We'd love to have you here. It's wonderful to see, the top half of people's faces. That's always great. You do have to register online. If you have any trouble registering online, just email help@bethyeshurun.org, and we will be happy to help you out. And we've got some really cool programs coming up, especially like this next week. A lot of great things as we slide into November. First, us Jews, we don't celebrate any holidays that have to do with sorcery, or spirits. We don't have any holidays in our calendar like that, but you can definitely find both sorcery and spirits in all sorts of Jewish texts, really ancient Jewish texts, and if you're interested in knowing what those are, feel free to join me on Zoom Wednesday night at 8 p.m. You do have to register at the link on the website to get the link, but it's open to everybody in the community. Come on by and see what you learn, see what you already know. I'm excited. It's going to be really interesting. On Thursday, we welcome Rudy Rochman to lunch with Rabbi Strauss. Rudy is a Jewish and Israeli rights activist who creates content to strengthen Jewish identity and combat anti-Semitism. So really crucial work. If you haven't heard of him, your kids probably have. He's very well known on social media. That's a great place to reach all the kids. And we look forward to talking with him on Thursday at noon on Zoom. You can register for that link on our website as well. The website has everything you need. Very exciting. Friday, speaking of opportunities that are open to us that are outdoors and fun and new, Friday night, October 30th, i.e. next Friday evening, we are taking our Shabbat Renewal outside. We've had such a great time at Simchat Torah. It was so great. If you were there, and if you heard about it, you know it was great. And we want to take advantage of this Houston weather and do more stuff outside. So bring your lawn chairs or blankets and help us welcome Shabbat with the clergy. We do expect everyone to wear masks and observe social distancing, and we will have to limit attendance, so please make sure you register on our website to join us for Shabbat Renewal next week outdoors. And I just want to hand it over to Rabbi Morgan to explain a really interesting interfaith program he is offering next week as well.
So for those of you who are not going to go out trick-or-treating, next Saturday night, October 31st, the Houston Archdiocese, Anglican Diocese, is organizing an interfaith program, like one of those jokes, a priest, a rabbi, and an imam walk into a bar. Actually, we'll be doing a program Saturday night at 7 o'clock talking about faith in the pandemic. Should be pretty interesting. They're hosting it. I'll be the rabbi. One of the imams that I know in town is going to be the imam, and a priest I've never met before is going to be the priest. So it should be an interesting dialogue.
Does sound like the setup to a bad joke, priest, a rabbi, and a mom in a bar. JLP, we kicked off our Sunday adult education for the year last week, but it is not too late. If you would like to join one of our Jewish Learning Project classes, check out the learning section on our website and keep checking back throughout the year because we host a variety of guest speakers and classes in addition to our year-long classes. There's always something going on at Beth Yeshurun virtually. Just to look forward, a little peek into November, Tuesday, November 17th at noon, our sisterhood is partnering with the ERJCC Book and Arts Festival for their virtual Torah Fund. Author and radio host Tommy Schnurmacher will entertain, and we will raise important funds to support scholarships at conservative/Masorti institutions of higher learning, like the rabbinical schools. The Torah's fund has raised more than $95 million since its inception, and it is dedicated to philanthropy it is the dedicated philanthropy of the Women's League for Conservative Judaism. So they do good work for good folks, somewhat good folks in my case. We're continuing our virtual office hours. We have someone in the office and online on Zoom Mondays through Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. to answer any questions you might be having about any of our programs, any of the services we have, questions about your account, or anything else that we can help you with. So if there's anything you've been wondering about and you want to grab a staff member and ask them, virtual office hours are a great time and place to do that. You can just go onto our website for more info about that. And of course, the Sisterhood Gift Shop is open by appointment if you call the main Beth Yeshurun number 713-666-1881 or email giftshop@bethyeshurun.org. Someone will be pleased to help you. They've still got so much great stuff in there. I stopped by recently myself to get a bar mitzvah present for my cousin, and there's still so many wonderful options. So please stop by there if you need any Judaica in your life. That wraps up really interesting and not short, but certainly full of great opportunities. List of announcements. Now, if you are with any children, I want you to if you can grab them if they're not running around, because I know like my kid would be. And everyone rise. We'll bless the children, followed by the kiddush, by the cantor. So all of our children. If you can put a hand on them, if they'll stand still, that's cool. If not, it's fine. For all of our kids, we say, V'rechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha Shalom. May God watch over you, protect you, and give you all the blessings God gives God's children, which is all of us, that of peace. Shalom. And let us all say, Amen. If you want, you can turn to page 55. Remain standing for the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila le'ikra'ei kodesh, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת 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 שלום.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in.